Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this. I guess there aren't even any more words for how overdue this video is. Like, once it's been a couple months since my last upload, I can't even say sorry for the delay. This was more than a delay. This was like I took a year off. I mean, in terms of YouTube, a couple months feels like a year. So if you are one of my regular subscribers and you heard me say earlier this year that I plan to get back into a regular filming routine and that videos are going to come like at least two a week, dude, like I'm sorry. Um, I feel like I should explain myself here, and it's hard to put into words, but there's something about sitting down to make a YouTube video and vocalizing, like putting into words the things that um, I don't even know whether or not other people would find them interesting, but they're things I think about, they're things I do on a regular basis. Um, Something about that can feel daunting. Sorry, the camera's shaking because my cat just jumped up. I'm sitting on my couch here. Oh, she's about to try to sit right on my jewelry. No, no, are you? No, no. Kind of trying to push her back onto the pillows. You'd think that's where she'd want to sit, but no. Okay, I guess she's gonna be in the video. But as I was saying, yeah, there's something that feels a little daunting about making a video if I'm not really in the mood for it. And I have no excuses. It's not like I've been super busy. It's not like I've been planning something great. It's just that about a week after I published my last video, I thought, I can skip a week. Like, I've got nothing new to say, there's nothing really going on. And then a road trip to the mountains came up, and I thought, okay, I'll do a video in the mountains. But it was super, super windy. And those of you who film on an iPhone know that unless you've got the special thing that muffles the wind sound, outdoor filming in a windy space just makes for like a ridiculously annoying video full of like sound distortion and stuff. So I skipped that week. And then the following week, I was playing with my cats. We play this game that I call Bathtub Ringette. Um, Hear me out. It's super fun. If you have a cat, your cat would go nuts over this. It's too bad I don't have the stuff to show you. I wasn't even going to mention this in the video, but I'll use something else as an example. Let me just respectfully put my Lakshmi jewelry aside for a minute. So you know when you buy a bag of coffee, it comes with like a black twist tie thing to secure the coffee pouch if you're a coffee drinker. Well, I discovered one day because I missed the recycling bin when I kind of wound one up and tried to toss it into the recycling bin, so it landed on the floor. And my cats both just like dove at it as if it was a treat or something. And it became their favorite toy. So one day, like I was stepping into the shower and I didn't look down first and I stepped on something hard and uncomfortable. This is probably the closest thing that I'll ever have to experiencing what parents of small children experience when they step on a toy. But yeah, I stepped on that with my bare foot. It frickin' hurt. And that's when I discovered that my cats kept taking these little like twist tie rings into the bathtub, and it was their favorite place to play. And I'm guessing it's because I've got like a wood grain kind of a floor in my apartment, so the bathtub is the only place where the floor is really slippery. So they bat these little rings around the bathtub like crazy. Like, seriously, my littlest cat, Minu, she spent like an hour in there once, and all I heard were the sounds of her like running back and forth in the bathtub. So just imagine this is like that coffee ring thing. And imagine for a second that this paintbrush is a Starbucks straw. Um, just for those who are environmentally conscious here, I have reusable metal straws, but I mean, there was a day that I went to Starbucks with some friends and I forgot to bring my metal straws with me, so I ordered my, soy latte and had a plastic straw. Um, when my cats found that plastic straw, like they dig a lot of shit out of my recycling bin. Let's be honest here. I need a lid for that thing because whatever I throw away, one woman's trash is another cat's treasure. Like they love playing with garbage. Um, Cat owners out there, do yours do that too? Anyway, let's pretend that this paintbrush is a Starbucks straw and this is the coffee filter ring thing, coffee bag ring. I discovered that you can like whip the filter across the bathtub with the Starbucks straw way easier than if you're using your hand. I'm putting that away because the look my cats are giving is that they're going to pounce on my sketchbook again, so I'm just gonna stop that little demo. Anyway, the day before I was going to film my last video, I played a rousing round of bathtub ringette with my cats, and my hands got caught in a crossfire. My kitties, like, they are extremely gentle little souls. They have never attacked me deliberately. They've never scratched me. They've never bit me. They don't hiss. They don't growl. Like, they're just super chill. But when they start playing, like, if your hand gets in the action, they will scratch it to shit. And vain as I tend to be on YouTube, when I looked at my hands and there were cat scratches all over them, I thought, forget it. Like, I'll wait until these scratches heal and then I'll film my next video. And by then it had been like 3 weeks since my previous upload. And I don't even know, like, it's basically like those scratches, whenever they healed, they got replaced by more scratches. Because, come on, like, I play with my cats every day. And yeah, and then it just spiraled from there into a round of procrastination that didn't just include YouTube, it also included, like, I had planned on finishing the illustrations for my next abstract coloring book, and I just kind of stopped. I stopped going onto Facebook because the latest, like, attack of slander and lies by the brainwashed followers of my ex-guru just became freaking annoying. Like, it doesn't even bother me because the stuff they make up is so over the top, like crazy unrealistic, that I know nobody believes it except for the people who are already brainwashed. And even half of them know that it's a lie. They just play along because they think it's Guru Droha if they don't. They think it's like a crime against the fraud that they follow if they don't spread lies about people who blew the whistle on the cult. It's a weird thing. But anyway, that made it so that I just didn't even want to look at Facebook because either there were people inboxing me saying, oh my God, get a lawyer, sue these assholes, like they can't get away with this. Or there were people sharing it saying, everybody report this and block this and blah, blah, blah. And like, if you were one of those people, like, thank you for the concern. I appreciate it. But I kind of want to play this with like the kindergarten recess playground method, which is like, just ignore the brats who are trying to taunt you and tease you, because the taunting and teasing, like, they're trying to get a rise. I really think, like, the latest attack by this cult, I really think they were attacking because they need more attention. Like, they are losing a shit ton of followers because people are seeing how crazy they are, and that's kind of snapping them out of it. Like, I hear from people on a weekly basis who used to be fully, like, committed to that false organization. I hear from people, like, regularly apologizing for how they attacked me when I came out of it, and saying that they're out of it now and that they're just grateful that there are video interviews I've made with other cult escapees because that kind of gives them like a grounding point when they get out. Um, anyway, but yeah, the thing about Facebook that started to really freaking annoy me is that everywhere I looked, everything was about that horrible cult I used to belong to, because 99% of the friends I have on Facebook are people I've never met in real life who I added as friends during the time I was brainwashed and in a cult. And so it's kind of like where some people might go onto Facebook to connect with their friends and family. For me, Facebook was always a job. You know what I mean? It was always a thing that I had to do, because in that cult, and if you're a new viewer, I've probably lost you because this makes no sense if you don't get the context. But I was a part of a cult in India, led by like a malignant narcissistic psychopath who he's escaped India. He's on the run and hiding somewhere, possibly in South America. I've also heard he tried to flee into a country in Africa. Like, who the hell knows where he is at this point? But he he mandated that anybody living in his organization upload 3 YouTube videos a day, just rambling about how much they frickin' love the place, even though it was like living in hell. And he also mandated that all of his followers get 5,000 Facebook friends and 10,000 Facebook followers and join like 1,000 groups and post his rantings and ravings into all of those. So basically, he wanted like a colony of spam bots to try to spread his crazy delusions to the world and get people to give him money, and apparently also nude selfies, because I'm getting more and more people telling me that he inboxed them asking them for naked pictures. Like, it's just crazy. So anyway, I haven't just been away from YouTube for a couple of months. I've also been away from Facebook for a couple of months. And have any of you guys ever like gotten an email from somebody and you meant to write them back that day, but you thought, I'll do it tomorrow, I'm a little tired. And then the longer it goes, the more it feels like you can't ever write them back because it's been so long that there's nothing that you can say that could possibly excuse the fact that you pretty much just ghosted them. Well, that's how I was starting to feel about you, about my YouTube viewers, about my, my online friends who I've never met in real life. And I definitely didn't mean to ghost you personally. I just needed a bit of a break. And ultimately, that's all. I needed a bit of a break from social media. So, how I've been spending my time, I've reread a book that I originally bought from Amazon when I was in India, called Traditional Jewelry of India. Marked all my favorite pages. There's a bunch of them. Sorry, my camera's set up in a way that's hard to show it, but basically it's a beautiful book of photography that shows all the traditional Indian jewelry styles. This is one of my favorite pages because it shows all the places women would traditionally get their ears pierced and the kind of ornaments they'd wear. But anyway, I read that book cover to cover, and like my passion for jewelry goes beyond the kind of magpie-ish draw to shiny things. Like, it's not just about the bling, it's not just because it looks awesome. I also really love the talismanic properties. And if you're one of my regular viewers, do I even have regular viewer? I can't possibly have a regular viewer if I go like 3 months without an upload. So if you used to be one of my regular viewers, you know that I love gemstones and crystal healing and stuff like that. But I also really love carved sculptural kind of pieces that have like temple style to them, where it's not just a piece of jewelry, it's also a deity that you wear to be close to. And I went through a major reassessment of my beliefs when I left that horrible cult. Um, because even though I was drawn to Hinduism before I got into that cult and had visited Hindu temples, like, I guess a lot of people don't know this about me, but it wasn't the fake guru who calls himself Nityananda. He's not the one who first introduced me to Hinduism. There was actually a couple in Vancouver named Nitin and Varsha who owned a shop called Lely's Books in Kingsgate Mall, and that was right by where I used to live. They had hired me to teach lessons on tarot card reading in their store. And the very first time I ever offered a tarot card reading, it was in the back room of their store. I should say the first time I read cards for somebody else. I'd already been reading for myself by that point. But the first time I read for somebody else, it was for Nitin. And it was in the back of their store at a little card table that had just this gorgeous Ganesha murti beside it. And I didn't really know anything about Ganesha. I knew he was an Indian god. I knew, of course, he's elephant-headed, and other than that, I knew nothing. So while I taught those two about tarot, they taught me about Ganesha. And in their office, like behind that stock room, they had a beautiful framed photo, not a photo, beautiful like framed triptych painting of the three goddesses, Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Parvati. And so they told me all about the Divine Mother as per Vedic Hindu tradition. And, you know, I was so hooked. I soaked in everything that they shared with me. I've been an animal rights activist since I was 8 years old and saw, you know, cows in the fields on road trips and put two and two together and realized, wait a minute, like these gentle, beautiful beings are being murdered for the food that back then I was eating. And I stopped, obviously. And like I became a vegetarian before I knew that there was a word for a vegetarian. I just knew I wouldn't eat animals. And I think a lot of kids feel that way, and it's beautiful to see. I think the world is really evolving towards more compassionate space. And I mean, God knows there's more options for us now than there were back then. Like, you couldn't even buy tofu in a grocery store. Just a little funny aside, like, I remember the first time I tried ordering soy milk in a restaurant. I would have been 13 or 14 when I just went vegan. And I was trying coffee. I felt so grown up. Like, my mom finally said I was old enough to try coffee. And I asked the waitress if she had soy milk. And she just went, ew, like, who would drink that? And I asked her, like, had she ever tried it? Like, don't knock it till you try it, dude. And she was like, I just think it would be too salty. And I was like, salty? Like, soy milk isn't salty. And then she explained that she thought I wanted soya sauce stirred into my milk. That's how fucking long I've been vegan. Like, pardon my language, sorry. Okay, I dropped the F-bomb. I wasn't gonna do that in today's video, sorry. But yeah, that's how long I've been vegan. That would have been like 1999 or something. So yeah, when Nitin and Varsha shared with me that they were strict vegetarians and that like almost all the Hindu people they knew in their circle were also strict vegetarians, and that they invited me for a delicious home-cooked vegan dinner at their place, at their home. And yeah, I just loved that culture from the beginning. So anyway, this was my very, very, very long-winded way of getting to the point about the jewelry that you see on display here. The Lakshmi necklace, the Lakshmi pendant, the Lakshmi earrings. As I film this, it is Navaratri. In fact, it's Dasara, which is the 10th day following the 9 nights in celebration of the goddess Devi. And this kind of kicks off the festival season. 3 years ago, I think, on this very day, I was set up on a stage with a camera and a microphone and told to talk as long as I could about Navaratri until the fraud guru of that cult graced the stage to give his little discourse. And um, it was so crazy, guys, because all I was told, like, I was in the temple of the Adinam, the ashram, and suddenly my cell phone rang and I was told, like, leave the ceremonies immediately to go to a place called the Raja Sabha, which was like the main gathering hall. And I didn't know what I was getting called there for. Like, I thought maybe they needed help setting up or something. Um, but no, I was just told, get on stage and start talking because um, Scammy G, like the fraud, wasn't ready to give his discourse yet. And here's like a little behind the scenes secret about that cult. If you haven't heard me say it in my previous videos, whenever he was sleeping in or lazy or just like eating a whole bunch and he didn't feel like giving his satsang discourse, they would put me on stage and make me talk instead. And I think that's where I developed this ability to talk and talk and talk and talk. And unfortunately, like that carries over in a bad way where I have trouble staying on the point. Example being right now in this video. Uh, it's funny because like I'll plan out what topics I want to share in a video, and then I just get derailed when I start talking about stuff and going off on tangents. Um, Now I consider this to be a bad thing, but back then it saved me so many times because I would be thrown on stage with no prep, like never a script, um, but no background info, like nothing. I wouldn't know what to say, but they would give me the mic and say, start talking. And yeah, the last Navaratri that I spent in India, I had to talk on stage for 3.5 hours, uh, from 6 p.m. until 9:30. And that's like, right now I have to stop and take a sip of my coffee here because my throat is getting dry. And I've only been talking for 22 minutes. Um, it's hard to even imagine how hard I used to work back then. Like, if you've seen things about like Scientology or the Nexium cult, like there are tons of documentaries coming out lately about different cults and what life is like for people who are brainwashed in them. But it's like, imagine the worst job you've ever had, like where your boss doesn't appreciate you and your coworkers are competitive and nobody gets along, everybody's fighting. Like, think back to the worst job you've ever had, and now imagine there's no going home at the end of the day and there's no weekends. Like, you live at that shit job. And you don't work an 8-hour shift, you work a 15-hour shift. And when you're not working that 15-hour shift, you're on call. Like, you can get called to a meeting at any moment. When you're given instructions for what to do, you can follow those instructions to the letter and do your job perfectly and get yelled at if somebody changes their mind about what they wanted you to do. Like, it's just, I don't recommend it. Like, being in a cult is not a life experience anybody should seek out. Like, if you're in a cult now, get out. You can quit. Like, you can kick this horrible habit. Anyway, when I left that cult, for a while I had like this weird feeling that I no longer had the right to talk about Hinduism or the Vedic culture or my love for the deities. And it was such a weird thing to go through because when I escaped the cult, I didn't escape Hinduism. I escaped a fraudulent narcissist who was using Hinduism to get fame and sex and control over people for his own greedy sake. I don't feel in any way whatsoever that Hinduism was a letdown or that India is to blame for what I experienced in that cult. And, somebody like Keith Raniere, who was the leader of Nexium, he's a prime example. If that fraud who calls himself Nityananda had been born in America or in Canada instead of in India, he would have probably run a Nexium style cult. If he had been born in Tibet, he might have ran a Buddhist flavored cult. It's not the cultures that are to blame for these like crazy individuals who take advantage of people. I think it's really a personality type, the worst, the worst personality type, who doesn't want to give anything to anybody, who just wants to take and take and take, and who has no moral sense of responsibility for the people they hurt. Anyway, I've done a lot of soul searching and realized nobody has the right to talk about anything or to not talk about anything. You just talk about what you want when you want. It's not like I'm insulting or hurting the religion. Anyway, so yeah, I'm back. I'm talking about my love for Devi, for the goddess, during Navaratri. And so I wanted to do a little show and tell of some of the pieces I made. This one here, it's a temple Lakshmi sitting over the moon. And this is something I think you see closer to the equator, where the crescent moon has like the upward points like this. Like where I live in Alberta, it's usually on the side, but I've seen people share pictures on Instagram where it's this kind of a crescent. Anyway, I find it just gorgeous. And I added to her these watermelon tourmalines, which is tourmaline that's both pink and green, to complement the colors of glass that are in the pendant piece, and malachite and garnet, and then more raw tourmaline beads, just again to complement the colors. So I wanted to show those off. I wanted to show this pendant, one of my favorites, that has this kind of a green colored fluorite and aquamarine and blue apatite, and I've stuck the Lakshmi to it. So it's kind of a fusion piece between like modern crystal healing jewelry and traditional temple jewelry. These earrings, I just love the elephants that are kind of protecting Lakshmi. The elephant is her vahana. It's like a totem animal or a spirit animal associated with this goddess. And elephants are auspicious. They're seen as like a representation of Lakshmi. This piece here, you can see the elephant's kind of in side profile. This piece is really cool. It's a hair ornament. So see the two little, what would you call these, hooks? They're longer than hooks, but these two wire pieces go like into the bun. So imagine this is like the bun and the hair. Lakshmi ornaments that. I added the rose quartz for love. And this piece, I'm surprised it's still in the shop. I thought this was going to sell immediately, so I'm glad I still have him blessing my apartment for a while. But this one is a little Ganesha that I just fell in love with. He's inside this really ornate, ornamented conch shell, and it looks like he's dancing, like he's in that dance posture. And of course, all the pearls are fake, so they're vegan-friendly faux pearls. And I beaded this mala in a way different to my others because I was thinking how, like, there's 108 beads, of course, but there are certain practices, like, for example, chanting Gayatri Mantra. Some people choose to chant it in groups of 7 or 9. So I've beaded these bead sections in groups of 7 and 9. And that way, depending on how many times you want to chant a specific mantra, you can do the full loop of 108, Oh, Oreo is very interested in this piece. You can chant the full 108, or you can choose to do like a mini chant session of 7 or 9, or any other grouping that you choose. Might as well. I'll show you the last piece that I've made here too. These pieces, I almost kept these for myself. Guys, I would go out of business if I kept all the pieces for myself that I want to keep for myself. But yeah, these Ganesha earrings, just how cute is the detail in the carved murti? And then every single coin adorning the chandbali, which means like an earring shaped like a crescent moon, all the coins making up that crescent moon shape have a carved Lakshmi. And so these were made, all the pieces I got were made by a jeweler in South India who really designs jewelry and has it produced in India by artisans who are keeping that temple jewelry tradition alive. So all of these styles would have been anciently produced in 22 karat gold, but now they're produced in a copper alloy and then gold plated. So they're still carrying that traditional sacred energy. And I just wanted to show the detail, like all of these little coins are connected by that chain. So when you wear them, they don't fall flat, like they keep this upturned, kind of fanned out position. That really impressed me when they arrived. Like when I ordered them, I kind of assumed that like they'd be spread out like this, but they'd hang flat when they're worn. So yeah, they're pretty gorgeous. I'll be a little low-key jealous of whoever buys them. But yeah, anyway, so happy Navaratri. I thought to celebrate this beautiful season of Devi, the Divine Mother, it would be nice to show you that I still love Hinduism. I still connect with Devi. In fact, if you follow me on Instagram, Instagram is the one social media platform that I still use daily because I follow tons of jewelry designers and tons of vegan recipe blogs on Instagram. So it doesn't feel overwhelming for me when I go onto it. And anyway, yeah, I think on Thanksgiving, between making the tofurkey and the vegetable casserole, I took a couple of pictures of myself wearing some of that temple jewelry and posted those on Instagram. So yeah, if you ever think like, did that Sarah Landry chick die or something? Like, when has she made her last video? Like, if you ever get curious, just check my Instagram page because I probably will have posted like a bracelet or a picture of nature or something. Anyway, that brings us to the last little show and tell bit that I want to share before I do some abstract drawing, which is what you may have tuned in for. I don't know. Thank you if you're still listening because that means all of this random rambling is interesting to you, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, the last thing I want to share is this my sketchbook. Okay, if you're a regular viewer, probably, you know that I love abstract art, abstract watercolor painting, abstract drawing. Some might say doodling, but I think of that as the D word. Like, I don't mind dropping the F-bomb, but don't say doodle. Like, doodle is like an insult. So you know that I love abstract expressionist style art, which is where it's almost like automatic drawing. You don't have a preconceived vision in mind of what the final piece should look like. You don't plot or plan or diagram your art. You just let flow through you whatever the universe wants to express through you. That is my favorite style of art. It's like jazz music coming through a pen or a paintbrush. Like, oof, I love it. However, I decided on a whim that I want to start making my own stickers. And how that started is kind of another long story. Okay, I'm going off on another tangent. I hope this is interesting to you. I started sending letters to pen pals a few months ago because Some random YouTube search got me into this vlog channel called the Paper Letter Blog, and it's a really neat girl from the Netherlands who does journaling and scrapbooking, and she writes to a lot of pen pals. And then on her channel, she does unboxings where it's not stuff that she ordered online, it's stuff that people send her. And so a lot of her viewers will send her bundles of stickers and washi tape samples and just pretty paper craft things. And I've like binge watched an embarrassing amount of those videos. Back when we were still under the lockdown, when we were being told like it's dangerous to even go to the grocery store and everyone was panicking, like during those days, gosh, it's been a long time since I've done a video, hasn't it? Back during those days, like I think I spent once like 8 hours straight, like a full work day if you're not in a cult, like a full Western work day, just watching Vivian's videos on the Paper Letter Blog. And then I decided, like, I want to do this. I'm sure I've told you about this in videos too, because one of my pen pals is somebody who is a viewer of mine, and I'll respect. Oh no, she told me I could share this. So forget it. I don't need to respect any privacy, but whatever. I don't have the letter ready to show you anyway, so okay, I'll share this next time. But yeah, I decided I have to start doing some kind of paper craft because I got so many feelings from those videos. Like I'll tell you, when I was a little kid, my favorite things to do were fold origami figures, and the best Christmas present I got as a kid was from my grandparents. They gave me like this treasure chest, like toy box filled with different kinds of paper, like packs and packs of different colored construction paper and watercolor paper and tissue paper and drawing paper and paper. Like it was so freaking cool. And when I moved to Vancouver, like I went to the Emily Carr Institute of Art and Design on Granville Island, and during like the breaks between classes, I used to wander Granville Island with my friends and just explore, because there are so many cool like alleys that have artisans set up selling their stuff, like jewelers and weavers and like cloth dyers and sculptors. Like if you ever get to Vancouver, make sure that you spend a couple of days dedicated to just hanging out on Granville Island and seeing what they've got. And one of the coolest shops is in I think it's called the Net Loft. It's a building filled with different artisan shops. And there's a store there called Paper Yeah. And like I could blow a paycheck in there. And it's just, anyway, I decided I needed to start sending pen pal letters because the goodies that people send to their pen pals. So, I mean, if you're old school like I was before I learned about this whole other genre of communication, it's like the slow cooking of the communication world. Like we are used to instant text messages with abbreviations, like U becomes the letter U instead of YOU, and R becomes the letter R instead of ARE. Like we're used to like pushing a button to tell somebody the bare minimum of what we have to say to them. Whereas the pen paling community literally puts pen to paper and in a prosaic way expresses what they have to express, like in detail with no abbreviations, some of them even in cursive, some of them even in calligraphy. And like the letter is just such a sacred way to share your life with somebody else, because it's not a disposable, deletable, temporary file that exists in cyberspace that's intangible, that you need a device to connect to. A letter, it's like a physical thing that somebody has put time and care into, and they're selectively telling you what they want you to know about them. It's not like trolling on somebody's social media to try to find out stuff about them. It's sharing in a lot of ways much more than you could ever find just by scrolling through somebody's profiles, because it's a conversation that happens over a great distance. And okay, I'm nerding out about this. Let's just say I like pen paling and I like journaling, and we can leave it at that. But what really got me hooked through the videos on that channel, the paper letter blog, were the little goodies that people include with the letter. So of course you've got the letter, and then people send stickers and washi tape samples and handmade cards and tags that they write questions to each other on, and it just looked like so much fun. So when I was a kid, my love for paper craft was equal to my love for hoarding paper and craft supplies. Like, let me know if you can relate to this at all. I do the same thing with jewelry, where like I'll buy a bunch of beads with a certain jewelry design in mind. And then once I've made that jewelry design, I might have like 5 or 6 beads left over from that style. And I can make a pendant out of those. I could make earrings out of them. But more likely, I will stash them away in my treasure box and just keep them, because I have this collector's instinct where I want one of each thing saved for myself. So like, it becomes a very expensive habit to have. But I'm like that with paper too. I might buy like a stack of origami paper and make a few like kinetic stars, or make some origami cranes to put on display on a mantle, or to send with Christmas gifts to people. And then when there's like 1 or 2 sheets of that paper left over, it's like I don't want to use it up. I have to keep it for myself. So I've got like boxes of pretty papers that I don't know what to do with. Let me rephrase that I don't want to do anything with, because it's nice to just save them for the sake of just going through and looking at them later and feeling them. And there's something so nice about paper. Again, I'm nerding out about this. But anyway, yeah, I love the fact that people collect these little paper things for each other and think, hey, like, okay, this set of stickers that have doves on them. Well, wow, one of my pen pals really talks about how much she loves watching the doves fly around in the gardens in the summer. I'm gonna send her these stickers. I think she'd love them. One of my pen pals is really into like witchy stuff. So she does all kinds of designs with pentacles and with herbal healing and herbal remedies and stuff. So when I found like a set of rune stickers, I thought, okay, these are perfect for her. And so I included those with a letter. And anyway, I started to think of birthstones, because let me marry the two things that I'm the most into, like paper crafting and letter writing. So I started searching for sets of birthstone stickers, and surprise, surprise, such a thing doesn't yet exist. And so I started to think, like, okay, there's not just a birthstone. Everybody has a birth flower. And of course, I know mine. Like, I was born in December. So I used to get tons of stuff with holly on it, because that's the December birth flower. And the birthstone was turquoise. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to have a set of stickers with both holly and turquoise, like the birthstone and the birth flower? And so when I started Googling this, I discovered, did you know that there's also a bird assigned to each month? So you've got the birthstone, the birth flower, and the birth bird. And that just got me to thinking, it would be so cool if there were stickers out there that you could order for somebody's birthday with their birthstone, their birth flower, and their birth bird. I know, I'm nerdy. Like, yeah, you can tell where my mind goes when I start thinking of this kind of stuff. But yeah, since those kinds of stickers don't exist yet, I thought, like, damn it, I'm gonna make them myself. I'll design these things. So I ordered a printer, and that was a big step for me. Please applaud. It's been years since I've been thinking I need a scanner and a printer. Finally, the model I was looking at is on sale. I'm going to start doing so many things with it, including from now on. I should say from 3 days from now on when it gets delivered. I'm going to print out the meanings of each gemstone. So when somebody buys something from my Etsy jewelry shop, instead of just getting the free little charm that I always include and a handwritten note, they'll also get a printout about the crystal healing meaning of the particular stones they ordered. And like, when did I open my shop? I think I opened it in 2014. So for the last 6 years, I've been thinking I should send a little printout of what the stone means with every order. It's taken me this long to actually make that a reality, but that's something I'm very excited about. And I've also ordered some sticker paper so I can start printing out my designs and making my own stickers. Stay tuned for like a new Etsy shop announcement, because I'll probably create a second shop just for stickers and maybe some stationery designs. But anyway, so here's my next show and tell. This was going to be a sticker for the month of January with a garnet, a snowdrop, and a cute little baby mockingjay. So yeah, I sketched this in pencil, then colored it in watercolor. I still have to do like the facet lines on the garnet, but I stopped because I realized the mockingjay is not actually the bird for those born in January. The mockingjay was the National Audubon Society's bird of the month in their photography contest. So all the work I put into this, like an hour and a half of sketching and painting, was basically just practice, because the actual bird for the month of January is the owl. And I discovered there are 2 flowers, so those in January have both the snowdrop and the carnation. So I decided to redo that one with an owl, a slightly darker garnet so it doesn't look too much like a ruby, and a carnation. So my plan is to print these out and kind of just have them cut like just around the blue watercolor. The blue border, it's because dark blue apparently is the lucky color for those born in January. So yeah, this sketch that you saw for March, this is going to be colored in as an aquamarine. We've got daffodils, that's the flower for the month of March, and a robin. My favorite so far, I'm gonna have to turn this on its side to show, but this is going to be February. Aren't February babies freaking lucky? They get amethyst. Their bird is the parrot, and the flower is one of my favorites, violet. So that's going to be probably my favorite of these 3. I haven't sketched the other months yet, but anyway, I'll be sharing pictures on Instagram as I go with that set. Just set that aside. The hardest thing about doing watercolor painting for me is stopping my cats from drinking the paint water. I rigged something up that I'm very proud of. I've got the water. I use like a leftover Daya like coconut yogurt cup for the water. And then I found one of my teacups came with a lid, so I have to keep my paint water covered, or else 2 little girlies are going to have multicolored tongues because they, for whatever reason, like the taste of the paint water doesn't even deter them from drinking it. I'm saying this like in a scolding voice as if they understand a word I'm saying, which I know they don't. Here we go. I'm trying to find like which one I've left on that I should finish drawing on the back. It's been so long. Okay, here we go. So anyhow, 50 minutes into this thing, I finally start drawing a bit. But yeah, so that's the basic catch up on what's been going on in my life. That it's not like there's any major shift or any kind of upheaval. I haven't been going through any emotional crisis. I haven't been going through any move or anything. I just haven't felt like doing a video until today. And I think like part of the reason I felt like doing a video today, of course, is that it is Navaratri. And I wanted to share some of that Devi jewelry I've been working on and just say Jai Ma, like just kind of share that I'm still into that. And another reason I felt like doing the video today is that it is so snowy and freezing cold and beautiful outside. I say that now, but when we're into like March and it's still freezing cold and slippery outside, I might be singing a different tune. But yeah, I was up late last night just watching the snow fall, and I love the look. It's so meditative of snowflakes falling in front of the city lights outside, so that when a flake falls just in front of a light, it gets illuminated and looks like it's glowing like a crystal. I just love watching snowflakes fall. And I love the patterns of ice crystals on a glass window. It's so meditative. And as I was watching that last night, of course, I thought like this is kind of reminiscent of an abstract drawing. The forms of the snowflakes and the ice crystals and how no two are alike. Really, nature is the ultimate artist. And, you know, as soon as I started to think of pulling out this sketchbook and doing some abstract drawing, that's when it hit me that, like, dude, if I'm going to be drawing anyway, I might as well film it and share the process, because it doesn't take any more effort, you know, to talk as I draw and to put up the camera as I draw. It doesn't take any more effort to do that than it takes to just draw, so I might as well. That said, like I was saying earlier, it can be a struggle at times to think about what exactly I should share, what I should keep private, like what to make the videos about, what would be interesting, what would be boring. Like to those of you who don't do YouTube videos yourself, it might seem like it's just like super chatty and easy, and that like whatever I feel like talking about I just say, but it's so different. Like it's hard to put this into words. It's not something I've ever tried to talk about before, but like when you're with a friend and you're chatting, the conversation just flows, and like you're spurred on for what to say by the questions asked, and you don't struggle to think of what to say next because the conversation just has its own flow to it, right? But when it's just you and a camera and nobody's asking you any questions, and you can't really pause and let somebody else fill in the gap because there's nobody else to fill in that gap, it's a totally different experience. And like, I challenge you to this. If you've never made a YouTube video, don't worry, I'm not gonna say get out your camera and film a video. Like, do it if you want to, but you don't have to. What I challenge you to do is like just sit in total silence, like no TV on, no YouTube video on, like nothing. Just sit in total silence and talk. Like just as if there's somebody next to you, but there's nobody next to you. Just imagine if you've got to fill an hour with your own voice. What would you talk about? And just see how it goes. And then imagine you're super low tech like I am, and that you don't edit your videos, and that whatever you say, it's not getting edited out because, who can bother with it? I know there are some people who spend time editing, but I can do it. I finally learned how to use iMovie on my iPhone, but I just don't like to do it. Anyhow, like I said earlier, doing a video is something that I've discovered now I have to be in the mood to do. And yeah, months went by and I just didn't feel like it. So anyhow, it feels good to get back into it, but I'm sorry to those of you who were, looking forward to a video or expecting a video. I know some of you have told me in the past that, like, while you're cleaning your place, you'll put a video on and listen to it, or while you're drawing yourself, you'll put on a video. That's ideally what I'd intend these videos for, like a draw with me sort of a thing, so that as I'm drawing and chatting, you can also get out your work and start drawing along. And I know that's what I do too. Like when I'm not filming a video and drawing, if I feel like just drawing, or those paintings I showed you a second ago, like the for the stickers I'm designing with the birthstone and the birth flower and the birth bird, I can't really film a tutorial and talk as I do those because I think the part of my brain that I use to talk is the same part of my brain that I use to do something representational. Like for the owl, for example, I had to think about what color is the owl. How far are the talons from each other? Where do I space this? Where do I put the distances? For painting in the garnet, like where's the light source coming from? Which facet will be dark? Which facet will be light? How to mix the color to get a shadow but not make it look muddy. That's the kind of thing that if I'm trying to talk and do that at the same time, it would just be full of mistakes and I'd forget what I was saying. It would be too distracting. Whereas this kind of stuff, this kind of abstract drawing, to me, like it flows so naturally that I don't have to think about it. It would be like saying like, well, can you talk and have your heart beat at the same time? Like, duh, obviously, heartbeat is automatic. I guess what I'm saying is for me, drawing this kind of abstract design is automatic. I don't have to think about where I'm plotting it. There's no light source, there's no shading, there's no color mixing, like there's nothing to... There's no possibility for a mistake because whatever goes down, if I like it, great. If I don't like it, I can incorporate it into the design another way or add something to it or draw over it or around it. It's kind of like Bob Ross. Like Bob Ross, when he did his beautiful landscape paintings, he could talk and do that because it came so, well, seemingly automatically to him. I watched a really cool documentary about him recently that, in fact, those paintings did not come so automatically. He would plan them out in his head, then he would paint them, like make the complete finished product painting on his own, time it out and figure out how he could do it in exactly, like I think it was 24 minutes or 26 minutes, however long one of his tutorial videos would be. And then when it was time to film the episode of Joy of Painting, he would keep the finished painting next to his easel as a reference. So it's not like he came up with it on the spot out of his head or like he did it from memory. Like he was following along, kind of like if you'd look at a chart and follow that chart for what you're doing. And I found that fascinating because I guess I've never thought about it before, like how he does his work, like whether he or how he did his work, whether it was planned or spontaneous. In fact, I find it even more amazing to know that it was completely planned and that he like calculated and timed it and figured out how he could do it in a set number of minutes. And then he stuck to that plan so it was perfect every time. To me, that's just mind-boggling. I would really struggle to reproduce one of my own drawings because the nuances are so subtle. Like, for example, like this little spiral piece that curves downwards like that, like the way each little element goes from biggest to smallest so that it looks like it's receding into the distance. I love the way that looks. I could use that style again in a future drawing. I could draw something else like it, but I could never get that exact identical curve once again, or that exact identical uh, gradation of size. Like, dude, that he was like next level crazy talent. As much as he's become like a meme with his afro and with his like soft spoken voice. Um, but such an impressive individual. Anyway, so Halloween is coming up. That's another thing. And I'm wondering if kids are going to be trick or treating with the pandemic the way they would in other years. Um, there was an article in my local newspaper about it actually saying that according to experts, there's no danger for trick or treating as long as the people who hand out candy at the door are wearing a mask and wash their hands before they put the candy in the bags. Um, because what they're saying is that COVID-19 doesn't get transferred by touch, only by, sharing the breathing space for a certain amount of prolonged exposure. And that the amount of time a kid spends at somebody's door isn't long enough to expose them to the virus. Uh, but yeah, I'm wondering, like, would parents then take their kids trick or treating, or would it be like, well, experts also said in the beginning that wearing a mask is pointless, and now it's mandatory. So, like, are they right about this? Like, how much do the experts really know? Because, like, okay, I watched the South Park pandemic special. Don't even say it. If you're gonna like comment that that's stupid or cheesy or like bad, just whatever. I like it. It's funny. Um, and in that special, it started with Cartman singing a song about how much he loves social distancing and staying home and not having to go to school. And low key, that's me. Like I'm totally like that. Like I love a home day where I don't have to go anywhere or see anybody or talk to anybody. I think it depends on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Extrovert. Um, I can be both. Like I do love visiting with people and talking to people and getting to know people, but in my heart of hearts, I'm truly an introverted type where if I had to say live with roommates or live by myself, dude, I would always 100% live by myself. Or if I had to pick like what's my ideal night, like going out to a club and blah blah blah, going for dinner with people, or just like staying home and curling up with a good book, I would stay home and curl up with a good book. And that's what I do. I've basically arranged my life in a way that suits my preference to be on my own. But anyway, I was watching that South Park pandemic special, listening to Cartman sing his little song about how much he loved not having to go to school. And I was thinking, like, damn, like, if this pandemic had happened when I was in elementary school, it would have been like winning the freaking lottery. Like, whoa, I can stay home with my cats. Like, I can just turn on my computer for a couple of hours and get this whole school thing over with, and then get back to my craft drawer and my books and like be comfortable and free. Like, no way, that would be so cool. But then, as like the ads for Halloween stuff have been popping up, I've been thinking, like, that's where it starts to suck. Like, for kids, if they don't get to do the trick-or-treating thing. Anyway, if you have kids, let me know in the comments, like, what are your plans? Are they still gonna dress up? Or are you gonna just maybe trick-or-treat to the homes of people you know, so that you know for sure that they are, you know, healthy and safe to visit? Anyway. And randomly, like, I start thinking of all the costumes that I used to love. Like, one of my favorites was a flapper dress from my grandma that she had worn. It wasn't exactly a flapper dress, it was a dress from the 60s, like, super, super, super fitted. Um, she was always a very slender lady, and back when I was like 18, 19, I was as well. Um, and so it fit me like a glove. It was this like really fitted kind of a dress with like an A-line skirt. It was all black with these like huge belled sleeves shaped like that little fluted thing I just drew. Like huge belled sleeves that had like a poofy black and white trim going around them. So like it looked like the witchiest dress that was actually a fashionable dress in its day. Um, so when I was like 18, I think 18, and I had this like artist studio where we would throw these like killer parties. It was basically an after party. My friends and I would always go to this place called the Starlight Lounge where they had local bands play. Like there was always local music on a Friday night or like on a Halloween night. And then the after party would be at my studio. And some of the other artists who rented studios in the same building, they'd open theirs too. So it would be kind of like a studio crawl. You could just go hang out in whichever studio you felt like. But all of them were open. But yeah, I remember one year wearing that really cool dress from my grandma. And I wasn't even dressed up as anything because um, let's be honest, I was in it for the fashion. Like I just wanted to look good on Halloween. So I did this like over the top makeup with like bright multicolored eyeshadow. I guess you could say it was 60s inspired because the dress was a 60s dress and the makeup was that like cat eye curled at the tip kind of an eyeliner look. And then I bought a bunch of like rhinestones from Michael's Crafts and I got some eyelash glue and I glued those rhinestones like, for example, pretend this is like these are my eyebrows here. I glued the rhinestones like from bindi point kind of like up my forehead and like down the side of my cheek and around. Um okay, I'll let my nerd out. It was kind of like 7 of 9 on Star Trek. The shape and the placement of those stones, only it wasn't like a spacey metal style. It was like a Julie style. Um, but yeah, when I think back to my favorite Halloween looks, that would be it. And if you're dressing up for Halloween, or like if you remember what was your favorite Halloween costume that you've had of all time, let me know in the comments. And here's another thing, if you have any questions for me, please leave those in the comments too, because that might help me break my procrastination between this video and my next video if I've got some good questions to go from and like use those as starting points for my video conversations. That'll really help. I've had comments from people requesting like cook with me in the kitchen, apartment tours, makeup tutorials. That's a big one I get requested a lot. And to be honest, I've been avoiding all of those just because it feels too personal at this point. Like I was saying earlier in the video, during the time I spent in that cult where we had to make videos every single day and show people our yoga routine and what we were eating and who we were hanging out with and what we were doing, it feels kind of like living in a fishbowl when you're doing something like that. And I guess for people who are on like reality TV, it must feel like that too. And if somebody's an extrovert, they would love it, right? Being on display all the time and in the spotlight. But for somebody like me, who doesn't mind that kind of thing once in a while, but who generally speaking, prefers my solitude, um, it would just feel too exposed, you know? Like, I don't know. I find it way more comfortable in the recent past, meaning like the past year, way more comfortable to do a video while I draw than to appear, like, than to show my face and talk into the camera. For that same reason, in that, like, okay, if it's my drawings that people are looking at, they might not even be looking at the screen. They can be doing something else and just listening, and then it's like a fun conversational sort of a video, right? But when it's my face on the camera, I always feel so I don't even know how to word it. It's like an awkward sort of a feeling where, yeah, it's really hard to put into words. It just started to feel forced. And I think one thing that I really, really enjoyed was when I had first spoken out about the abuse that was going on in that cult. Some of the other cult survivors, like who also had been in that same cult, did interviews on my channel. And we did it like we had Zoom calls, and then I just did that thing where you push a button to record the Zoom call. I'm so not techie, I don't even know what that's called. Screen share or screen record? In any case, like, you can record it within Zoom itself. Like, you don't need to set up a second camera. And those interviews for me felt so much more fluid and conversational and easy than when I do a video where it's just me talking to the camera, that it kind of spoiled me. You know, like, I enjoyed having conversations with other people so much more than I enjoyed, like, just talking at the camera, that it became hard to sit down and talk at the camera afterwards without feeling like I'm performing or something like unnatural. That's where I'm trying to get with this. What I'm trying to say is that when I have the camera facing my face and it's me talking to the camera, it started to feel unnatural, because that's something that you would only ever do if you're making a YouTube video. Whereas, like, when I'm drawing or doing the show and tell kind of stuff, like, if the camera's facing like something down here, and I can say like, whoa, check out this book, or check out this jewelry that I made, or like, check out this thing I'm drawing, it feels so much more easy and natural and less forced. I'm sure somebody is going to try to psychoanalyze that and send me a message about being comfortable with my appearance. And, like, dude, it's not that at all. Like, I'm not self-conscious about appearing in front of the camera. I just don't always want to do it. I think that's the other reason I had to distance myself from YouTube and Facebook and social media for a while, is that when you put yourself out there in a public way like this, suddenly, like, everything you say and everything that you do, it's no longer yours. It belongs to everybody who sees it and who listens to it. And obviously they're judging. Like, anybody who sees or listens to anything that anybody else says judges it. That's not a bad thing. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously I do that too. We all do it. Like, it's, if you see an ad for a reality TV show and somebody's throwing a wine glass and cursing somebody else out, like, you're gonna think like, well, that's a train wreck, or that's a hot mess. Like, you'll judge it. Like, you can't help it. It's human nature, right? But sometimes, like, it just gets so annoying when you're constantly getting your inbox flooded with people's interpretations of what you're going through, or assumptions or judgments. Like it's just, yeah, it's not always fun. And I think that's the other thing about what I've been working on lately is I think the reason it was starting to get to me was that I don't want my identity to be a cult whistleblower or a cult survivor or like a target of a smear campaign by a cult. Like Leah Remini is a freaking hero. That woman is like, dude, like give her a Nobel Prize for the amount of good that she's done helping people come to terms with like their escape of Scientology. Um, or other cults too. Like I know I've mentioned in the past that seeing her A&D series helped me recognize the fact that what I was in was also a cult because of all the similarities. Like that woman is a hero. However, do you hear the name Leah Remini and think talented actress? Do you think, what was that show, King of Queens, I think? Like, do you think of the body of work that she did before Aftermath, or do you think like whistleblower, like Scientology escapee? She has really created an identity of exposing that cult. And like it's impressive. But I started to find like it got so negative. Um, I get a lot of messages from people who recently got out of the cult, and it gets really heavy hearing what they've gone through. Like, there was some nasty shit that went on after I left, but before I started going public, back when people were still staying in the Bididi ashram. Oh my god, like I was talking to somebody recently, and that person, I'm not even going to say he or she because I don't want, if anybody in the cult watches this because they're trying to glean information about who to attack next or who might be turning on them, like I don't want to give them any info. But that person I was talking to told me about like really disgusting forced sexual interactions that they all had to have uh, on camera to share with that fraud guru in his messages, and things that I thought were just nasty rumors because I had heard that those kinds of things happened after I left, but I couldn't fathom it being true because it was so much worse than everything even I had experienced. But having heard about it firsthand from somebody who experienced it, it really shook me. Like wow, it is even worse than I thought. And then it just gets maddening that all the people criminally responsible for it are free. The teacher who forced all the kids to beat each other, she escaped to Ecuador along with the fraud when he got out. She's along for the ride with him to whatever hideaway they find, whatever criminal elements in South America are ready to supply them with fake documents and let them, invade some country. So yeah, I don't really want to build my identity as like the cult whistleblower. I don't want to be the go-to person. Um, Guys, like, oh, if I had $1 for every filmmaker or journalist who sends me a message saying, "Will you give me an interview? I want to expose this cult." If I had $1 for every like aspiring filmmaker or journalist who wants to make a name for themselves by exposing the Nityananda cult, I could make that my full-time job, But in reality, like, all the videos I made exposing that cult are demonetized because if for whatever reason, like, YouTube considers it unmarketable or inappropriate to talk about brainwashing and mind control and the kinds of shit experiences we had there. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't doing it for the money. Like, I wasn't making all that stuff public, expecting to get anything back from it. I'm just saying, like, somebody like Leah Remini, she can make it a full-time job. But if I sit down and think, is that really even what I want? To be honest, it's not. What do I want? This is turning into a therapy session, right? I'm talking through my issues about YouTube and then talking about what I actually want out of it. What I actually want, I want to draw, I want to do crafts, I want to make jewelry, and that's it. And like, yeah, maybe share some vegan recipes and makeup tutorials someday. Like, those who said that they would love to see makeup tutorials and vegan cooking, like, I am with you 100%. Like, I watch makeup tutorials and vegan cooking channels. Like, that's so up my alley. It's so my kind of thing. Like, I appreciate that feedback. I'm just not comfortable filming that kind of content for myself right now. Like, right now, what I find the most inspiring and exciting and relaxing and nostalgic is drawing and art and jewelry and crafting. So there we go. I'm probably gonna lose another like 500 subscribers for saying that like you can expect to see sticker designs and maybe some pen pal letters, and I'm still planning on doing a viewer art video, but I only ever got 6 images in, and I was thinking I'll wait until I've got like 20. Like, once I've been tagged in a bunch of Instagram posts of other people drawing, like, that's when I'm going to do a video showing art made by viewers. The reason I'm waiting for 20, it's just pure procrastination and laziness. That's all. It's a number that I said from the beginning. Once I have 20, I'll do the video. And the reason I don't want to do it sooner is that I only want to do it once to see if it works out nicely, and if it does, I might do them on an ongoing basis. But like, I am so lazy when it comes to video editing that I know a video of viewer art has to be an edited video, right? Like, I've got to save the files and then put it together in iMovie and then do a voiceover. It's just so much easier to talk and as I'm drawing talk. That, like, this for me, people have said that it's amazing I can draw like this and talk simultaneously, but like, drawing a square and talking about how I'm drawing a square as I'm drawing a square is way easier than drawing a square and then recording a separate voiceover about drawing a square. Yeah, we're all different. But for me, this kind of thing is by far my favorite kind of videos to do. Anyway, yeah, today's video has been like so all over the place, hasn't it? Like, from Navaratri and Lakshmi jewelry and Ganesha to talking about like stickers and stuff to Halloween costumes. There's no real theme for this one. But yeah, I guess the theme is just update, and it's been so long since I last filmed. I think I'm going to leave this at this for now because this pen is so old. That's another thing. I've ordered new Uniball pens. Here's a little pro tip. I do all of my drawings in Uniball because it's waterproof and light fast, which means the ink doesn't fade over the years, even if it's exposed to sunlight. Like, my grandma has some drawings that I made a few years ago that she's framed and put up in her house. And it's so sad. Like, when I go visit her and see those drawings, they've all turned like this like yucky, like yellowy brown color. They're the color of a dead sunflower. Um, and they started out as black and white like this, and then the colors are just fading. And it's because I used to use those like fancy art pens that they get students to use in art class with like a felt tip or a brush tip. And those pens might feel the best to draw with because they're made for artists to draw, and it's like the pen mimics the feeling of a paintbrush. Um, but the ink just doesn't stand the test of time. Whereas, like drawings I did in that same era using a uniball still look today like I drew them yesterday. Like they look perfect. I Googled the brand, and the brand is completely vegan, so there's no animal derived ingredients in it. For me, that's a very important thing. Just like the fact that I use Strathmore brand watercolor paper. Um, Not sponsored by any of these brands, but like, damn, I'd love it if Strathmore sent me some watercolor paper, or if Uniball sent me some pens for doing a video. That would be like the ultimate, the ultimate, like, what do they call it? Where you like shout out a company and they sponsorship. I think that would be like my dream brand ambassador role, like Uniball pens and Vision paper. Um, but yeah, I use these brands because they last a long time. Like one of these pens, I can probably draw like 5 pictures like this, like highly detailed abstract drawings. That's really important because probably the most annoying thing that can happen to me as an artist is if I'm in the middle of a drawing and suddenly the ink flow turns like scratchy and gray and the pen dies. Like, oh, that's the worst feeling ever. Um, but yeah, the reason I only use this kind of pen is that like 20 years from now, I don't want to open my sketchbooks to discover that the black has all turned yellow. Um, or even worse, if somebody buys a piece of my art, I want them to get a good quality piece. I don't want somebody to buy something I've made and then like it fades or it gets wrecked. Like that would suck. Like I would rather um if somebody buys, like for example, if somebody buys a piece of jewelry that I've made, I want that to last them for the rest of their life. Like they should get to pass that down. It shouldn't break. Like um yeah, anyway, so yeah. Uniball pen, super good, long lasting. Strathmore brand watercolor paper, totally vegan. You might be thinking, like, why would watercolor paper not be vegan? Um, Interesting fact, it's made out of cotton that gets pressed into the paper form, cotton rag paper. Sometimes it's made out of paper pulp, like a cheaper brand of watercolor paper. But the paper gets treated, it gets sized before it gets sold. And like the sizing of the paper helps it so that the ink doesn't run or smear. Like, whoops, sorry, I hit the camera. If I put my pen down on the paper like this and just hold it in place for a long time, bad example because I moved my hand and smudged it at the end. I'll do that again. Like I'm putting my pen down here and I'm holding it for like 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. There's like 5 seconds or more of holding my pen down. But see how it's still like sharp ended? Okay, like it got a little like flick there because I wasn't careful when I lifted it up again. But sometimes if you have a cheaper watercolor paper, if you hold your pen down, it'll bleed around the edges and give you like little marks that look like that, right? That's what happens when the paper wasn't sized. It just absorbs. It would be if you put this kind of a pen down on a piece of on a Kleenex or like a paper towel, like it just soaks up the ink. So a nicely sized watercolor paper, you can do dots like this and it doesn't soak into the paper or bleed. You can get these like nice tiny little dots. And cat hair. I'm sorry, I've got cat hairs on everything, right? If you saw the clothes I'm wearing, oh, you can. See, there's like, I'm that crazy cat lady who's always got cat hair on her clothes. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna leave it at this for now. But I super appreciate your watching. If you've got any questions or topic suggestions, please leave them in the comments below so that if I've got things I know I can talk about as I draw, it shouldn't be quite as long before I film my next video again. But I am not going to pressure myself the way I have in the past by saying, like, I'm gonna do a video every week on this day or twice a week. Like, you have no idea how much pressure I put on myself to maintain a video uploading schedule once I've promised something like that in a video. It's like, it's weird. It's weird. Because YouTube is a thing I do as a hobby. Like, AdSense is like nil because everyone's got ad block now. And you may have noticed, I hate it when I'm watching a YouTube video. I hate it when I'm watching a YouTube video and every 5 minutes an ad pops up. Because usually when I'm watching a video, I don't watch them. I listen to videos. I've got like, you know, I love Bailey Sarian's makeup tutorials, but I don't watch her do her makeup. I put on one of her videos and then I draw, or I go to my desk and make jewelry. I listen to her videos, especially her murder mystery and Makeup Monday videos. But dude, I can't even watch those videos anymore because I'll start playing one. I'll go to my jewelry table and start like stringing beads to make a necklace or a mala. And that's something that once I start, I can't stop until it's finished. Like, especially if I have a symmetrical design, so the bead count has to be exactly right. That's not the kind of project that I start and then set aside and then go back to later. Like, I have to finish it in one sitting, or else I might lose count, or I might make a mistake and the beads might be misaligned. And oh, there's nothing worse. Like, I'll show you what I mean. Like on this Ganesha mala, for the symmetry, see how like there's 3 light green beads. I must have said 3 green beans, 3 green beads, and then the rudrakshas. By the way, it's not loose by mistake. I make it loose like this on purpose when I do a mala so that when you count the beads, you can slide them like this and not lose track of your mantra count. But anyway, yeah, there's 3 green, then rudraksh, then clear quartz, then malachite, then clear quartz, then rudraksh, and then 3 more green aventurines. And then like there's got to be the same exact number of beads on each side, or else it loses loses the property of the numerology in the bead count, and it also loses its visual beauty unless it's meant to be asymmetrical. Or like this piece here. If one side had like more garnets than the other, or oh, it's happened to me in the past where I've made a piece of jewelry and like see how between the gold bead and the malachite bead there's like a tinier gold bead. I once made a necklace. It took me like 3 hours to make it, and one side had the little gold accent bead and the other side didn't. I love this piece, by the way. Doesn't she just look beautiful? That Lakshmi sitting in a lotus over the moon. This one might be my favorite piece in my shop right now. I might have to order more of that pendant style to make other designs too. We'll see. But yeah, it gets so annoying because I'll put on one of Bailey Sarian's videos, and this isn't to call her out. Like I'm not a drama person. It's not her fault. It's the way YouTube does this. If you monetize your videos, you have the choice whether to put the ads at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end, or all 3. And I've noticed like every other YouTuber that I watch, they have their videos before, during, and after. So they have their ads before, during, and after the videos. Because it's more money, right? But for me, I like if I'm starting to make a piece of jewelry and the video is running and then an ad starts, I don't want to put the jewelry down, go to my laptop, skip the ad, and then go back to making the jewelry. So there have been times when I've listened to those like 10-minute skippable ads, and it's like they're advertising like a course on Udemy that I have zero to no interest in. And I'll listen to that whole damn ad because I can't put down like the intricate work that I'm doing with my hands in order to skip the ad. Um, so you're welcome for the fact that I do not put ads during my videos. They're just at the beginning and at the end. So once the ad is over with, you can listen to it and hands free. Like you don't have to worry about skipping an ad. Um, anyway, so I don't do this for the money. I do it for the love, really. Like I I watch Peter Draw's art videos. I watch the Paper Letter blog to see what kind of crafting Vivian is doing. Um, and yeah, like I said, I watch Bailey Sari. I love watching YouTube videos. So for me, it's kind of like a way I can give something back to the YouTube community so that others out there, if you like watching me draw like this or listening to me ramble about stuff that's interesting in my life, like, okay, if I find it interesting, I know you obviously who have listened to an hour and 36 minutes of this, like we are kindred spirits. Like we find the same kind of stuff interesting. So for your sake, I'll make these kinds of videos. Um, what I was getting at with this is that it is weird how much pressure I've put on myself in the past to do these, even though it's not a job, it's just a hobby. And so long story short, I'm not going to make any promises like I'll do a new video every week or every 3 days, because that's going to be a ton of pressure. But I will say this, I'm going to hopefully not ghost everyone on YouTube for like a month at a time. I'll hopefully film another one again soon-ish. And if you ask any questions or give me any topic ideas in the comment section below, I will super duper appreciate that, and it will mean more likely that I'll do another video soonish. Regardless, I think once my little birdie gemstone flower sticker set is ready, I'll probably do a video just to show you how those illustrations have come along. And yeah, I'm hopefully going to, not hopefully, this is one thing that I will say, like I am going to start painting more representational stuff like that, like more gemstones and more floral designs, just because I think it's going to be a good thing to be able to do representational as well as I do abstract. And that way, one day, like when I finally paint my own tarot card deck, I would love for my art style to be like on par with somebody like the great Mahadeva Padma, who painted the Osho Zen Tarot. Like, say what you will about Osho and like the cult of Rajneeshpuram and like all this shit that they did. Like, I'm not saying that his cult was something venerable, but like a damn good tarot deck came out of that. Just like I wouldn't say that there was anything good about the time I spent in the cult of Nityananda. Like that wasn't a part of my life I look back to happily, but I met some really good friends in that shithole who I'm still in touch with and whose friendship I still appreciate to this day. Anyway, I love the Osho Zen Tarot. However, I don't feel comfortable reading with the Osho Zen Tarot deck. Here's another little tangent I'm going to go on for a second. I've had some people ask me if I do tarot readings, like if they can schedule a reading. And for the foreseeable future, the answer to that question is no. And the reason is, like, the Osho Zen Tarot is the only deck I felt comfortable reading with professionally, because the way Mahadeva Padma designed the cards, it's way more beautiful and approachable than the traditional Rider-Waite style. And like she made the deck in a way that leads the reader to a meditative space. Basically, any tarot deck you read with. I should do a whole video just about tarot. Let me know if that would interest you. But like basically any deck you read with, it's not about predicting the future. It's about understanding the currents in life that have taken you to where you are now and seeing into the direction you're headed if you stay on the path that you're currently on. And the way that I used to read cards, when I gave a professional reading, I would request that my client not tell me anything about themselves. Don't ask their question out loud. That way I could just speak through whatever information was coming to my mind without trying to analyze it first. The same way I do a drawing like this, I would just let the messages flow out as I looked at the cards. And I would always read first the past, then the present, and then go into the direction of the future if the past and the present stay unchanged. The reason I loved that formula, maybe I'll do a video tutorial showing you the spread that I developed too, because I didn't use a known spread. I made up my own spread. But the reason I did it that way is that it gave my client the confidence that if they heard me describe the past and the present accurately without hearing their question or knowing anything about them, then they could also trust the message about what direction they're going. If it remains unchanged, they could trust that that's going to be correct as well. And there's no such thing as predicting the future. You cannot predict it. You can only design it because we have free will. And so the best thing that I would find about those readings is that like charlatans, like the money grubbing fake readers who give the whole mystical tradition a bad name, they might say something in a reading like, oh, I see this terrible thing in your future, and to avoid it, you need to buy 3 more sessions from me, or you need to make a donation, or you need to buy this amulet or this talisman. Like, I love my gemstone jewelry. I'll sell it to people who also love it and who want it, but oh my God, I would never tell a client that they have to buy a specific stone in order to achieve their goal. Like, gems and stones, they're nice, but they're not essentials, right? I'm ranting now because there was a reader at one of the Vancouver tarot studios, one of the psychic studios, who used to tell clients that if they don't buy the jewelry that reader made, that they would be cursed. Anyway, you can't read a future like that. All you can see is, like, it's common sense, right? Imagine, like, if somebody tells you, every day I eat 5 chocolate bars and I sit on my ass and I don't do anything. You don't have to be a psychic or a tarot card reader to say, dude, you're gonna get fat. Or at least, even if you've got a high metabolism, you're gonna get unhealthy. Like, that's not nutritionally sound. You need to get some exercise. For me, reading the cards was like that. I could see patterns in a person's spread that shows kind of like where they are in the present. And it's like, okay, based on this, I can see that the direction you're heading is blah, 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 blah. Like, I could see where somebody was going, right? The reason I no longer feel comfortable reading with the Osho Zen Tarot is that one of the cards in that deck is a portrait of Osho, and that card is called the Master. And basically what it means, if somebody gets that card in their spread, the way Osho's disciples would read it is that that person should now seek a guru or go to Osho as a guru. And I've evolved in my spiritual path to the point where guru is not an external person telling you what to do and how to do it and how to pray and how to connect. Guru, like the removal of the darkness and the introduction of the light, comes from within. Even if you find an outside teacher who gives guidance, that outside teacher pales in comparison to the spirit of yearning for enlightenment within you that attracted that teacher in the first place. It's like, If any disciple ever realizes a higher state, it's not the greatness of the guru, it's the greatness of that disciple's seeking that allowed them to reach that higher state. And so I would hate to work with the Osho Zen Tarot now when there's a card that represents the very thing that I feel is a detraction from the spiritual path, which is having that external guru. Back when I was still brainwashed in that cult, people used to comment on my videos and say this. They'd say, like, somebody quoted that famous aphorism that if you see the Buddha on the path, kill him. It doesn't mean kill an enlightened person or kill the Buddha. What it means is, like, don't let anybody else ever tell you that they are more spiritual than you or that they have the answer for your life. Like, you have the answer. The only really good spiritual teacher is the kind who can admit their own mistakes, who can lead by example, who can show you what they've done and what it's allowed them to achieve, so that you can either follow it or avoid it based on whether you like or dislike the outcome. In Sanskrit, the word for that is acharya, someone who practices what they preach, and so you can follow their example. And I think that there's so much hypocrisy in the spiritual community where there's like an enlighteneder than thou attitude, right? Like the way like church-going Christian folks will sometimes have that holier than thou attitude where they'll point out how everybody else is a sinner. Dude might be beating his wife, but he'll say like gay people are sinners, that kind of thing. That's not exclusive to Christianity. Like, that's there in every religious tradition. Like, as soon as there's a person standing on stage declaring how great their realizations are or how good they are, anybody listening to that will feel less than that person up there preaching, right? So yeah, the reason I'm not offering tarot card readings now to those who have requested them is that there is not a deck that I feel, I don't want to sound arrogant, like there's no deck worthy of my readings, because it's not about worthiness or unworthiness. I would say there's no deck that resonates completely with what I would personally want to offer as a reading. So I'm really planning on making my own one day. And I would love for the style to include like some of this kind of abstract stuff that I draw. Like maybe the borders of each card can be this kind of thing, and maybe the back of each card could be like maybe a mirror image version of one of these, like say if it was a flipped repeat pattern. But the actual artwork on the cards, I would love it to be in the illustrative style similar to what Mahadeva Padma did with the Osho Zen Tarot. And because I let years and years and years go by without doing any kind of representational art, I've just lost the skill for it. And so where this kind of looks like a childish cartoony image, I think the first one that I did was a little bit better, but it didn't work as well. I would rather have art that looks a little bit more refined. And so I'm gonna keep doing stickers. I think it's a good practice. And then one day it'll be time to release the deck. Since I've angled my camera, you can see, ignore all those boxes of stuff over there. There's my foot. But yeah, these are the cute cats I've been looking at this whole time. Anyway, enough babbling for now. Thank you for watching this video. I'll put a link to my Etsy shop below. If you mention watching this, I'll send you a special little gift because it's still Navaratri. Just mention seeing this video. You don't have to know how to spell Navaratri. Just mention you saw this video if you buy anything. I'll put in a special something suitable to the occasion. And yeah, I hope you like how this drawing is turning out so far. I'll probably add a little bit more to it just so that there's details covering up those ink smudges. But other than that, thank you for listening, and I hope to chat at you again before months and months and months have gone by. Much love, all the best, happy Navaratri, bye.